Hi, I'm Jason Debly, and tonight's review is, normally I say tonight's whiskey review is from Speyside or America or a Canadian whiskey. Not so tonight. Tonight, I'm not even sure if I can call it whiskey. It is a Greek spirit. Normally when we think of Greek spirit, we think ouzo, that white spirit that tastes of black licorice. You either love it or hate it. Add a little water and it gets cloudy like milk. I've grown to like this, but maybe for another review. Tonight we're going to review a Greek spirit, an amber spirit called Metaxa. And I have a bottle here, and Metaxa is different. It is, at one time it was founded by Spyros Metaxa, a gentleman who was a silk merchant, and his family were silk merchants. So he was fairly affluent, and he was born in, I think, the 1840s in Greece. But he traveled a bit, and he liked good alcohol, and he liked spirits. But he found that they were quite rough. And a lot of people today think that, old whiskeys from the previous century were maybe better than they are today. But actually, it's quite the opposite. They were very rough. Hence, people like Johnny Walker, William Teacher, and others developed blends that took that super harshness away. And in Greece, they had their own version or gentleman who's like Johnny Walker, Spyros Metaxa. And what this gentleman did was he wanted a smoother spirit, and he developed Metaxa. Using his surname, he named the spirit Metaxa. And he created a distillery in about 1888 and went into production. And today, production is enormous. I think like 12 million bottles are produced annually. But back in the day, back in 1888, when it was first released, it enjoyed quite a bit of popularity. And it was marketed sometimes as cognac, sometimes as brandy. But that was before cognac had legislation defining that cognac had to come from the cognac region of France. And later on, it could no longer be marketed as like Greek cognac or brandy from Greece, because even brandy eventually had legislation specifying that, what constituted brandy and certain particulars in production that the creators of Metaxa don't follow. So Metaxa, what is it? It is, you take distilled wine, they take distilled wine and they age it in casks, French limousine casks, French oak, medium char, I think. And then at the same time, they take white wine from the island of Samos, Muscat wines, which Samos is famous for, and they age those in oak for a period of time, and then they blend them together, or as they say in the industry, marry them. But that's not the end. Then the Metaxa master, they say they don't have a distillery master, they got a Metaxa master. He will add in Mediterranean botanicals. And what do I mean by botanicals? I mean roses, rose petals. So that he will admit that they use an enormous amount of rose petals. And they mix that with water and also other botanicals, like probably oranges, because I taste oranges in this, and a lot of other things, violets, who knows, originating out of Greece and the Middle East. So then they add in those botanicals after they've already blended the wine with the distilled wine. So clearly adding wine to distilled wine makes it no longer cognac or brandy, but then going over the top and adding in botanicals, that's in the gin world. So this is a unique spirit. 40% alcohol by volume, not super expensive. In Canada it was $50. I have the Metaxa 12 stars. So there's no age statement on this, but I've read online that the 12 stars means that there's no ingredient, wine or spirit less than 12 years old. So we've got some age on here, and no artificial color, no cork, just a metal cap, And now we'll pour some and do a little review. We'll make a healthy pour. It's the end of the week. Okay. On the nose. It presents well. The nose is interesting. It's pleasing. Notes of chocolate. Definitely roses, lavender. These are not things that the guys in the whiskey world are familiar with in their aromatic experience. And there's something exotic going on, but it's not offensive. And if I was doing a blind tasting and somebody said, "Nose this whiskey," I would kind of think I'm nosing maybe a rum or a cognac, more of a cognac. On the palate, the dominant flavor is oranges. Seville or Sicilian oranges. There's vanilla there, a rich exotic vanilla. There's oak. And mid to late palate, there is a vaguely white wine note to it, which would stand to reason because there's wine in this spirit. And then on the finish, you're left with really exotic and kind of foreign spices. Definitely you've got your rose petals. You know, I'm reaching here, but in the kitchen I would think I'm tasting a little bit of like sage, pomegranate. It's different. Red dragon fruit. It's sweet, it's rich, it's luxuriant. It's sweet, but it does dry a bit on the palate towards the finish. So it's not cloyingly sweet, but this is on the sweet side. This is, you know, it's not as sweet as, say, a French orange liqueur, but it's got some sweetness, but more of a roses tinged with orange influence. So it's very, very different. And I think a lot of people are going to hate this. I think, you know, some people will like it. It sells well internationally, particularly in the United Kingdom, of all places. It's a very popular spirit from what I gather. I know a couple fellas in London, England, I asked about this, and they said, you know, a lot of guys drink it and they like it, and it's affordable. So Metaxa is a different spirit. Would I buy it again? It's not bad. It's just really different. And I think maybe if I was in, you know, the Greek islands, I could see in Santorini, you know, after a meal sitting there and sipping on this, looking at the water below. Yeah, it might fit right in perfectly there. It's orangey, it's sweet with some roses. It's different. Maybe I wouldn't buy this again. I can't say it's horrible. I like it. But I probably, in the final analysis, like Ouzo better. I've really grown to like Ouzo. You know, years ago I hated this stuff. It's not overly complex. Pour a little shot in a glass, add some water, and it's nice to sip on. Nice black licorice, anisette. You know, it's very relaxing. Got to be careful because you can get too relaxed. That's my review. That's Metaxa. Do I recommend it? I don't think it's bad. I think if you could try it without buying a bottle, it's worth doing. I don't know if I'd invest in a bottle again of Metaxa. This is a Metaxa 12. There are lower grades, and the 12 is a lot better. But then there's stuff above the 12 that is even more refined. It has no alcohol bite, it's balanced, it's interesting, but it's quite sweet coming from a whiskey guy who likes whiskey and rye, which tend to be drier and certainly don't have rose petals in the flavor profile and a ton of orange. So this is not a liqueur, not a whiskey, kind of in the cognac world, like in the cognac flavor profile, without being cognac, because it's a little too exotic with those Mediterranean botanicals. Thanks for tuning in, and next week, I don't know what I'm going to review, but I could review this, but anyway, if you want me to review ouzo, leave a comment below.